So yeah, as a talk is called the three stages of skill mastery. Um, so in terms of what it's going to be about, it's basically three different phases in my career and then some takeaway lessons. So let's get started. So yeah, I'm Joe, I'm 27. Um, I'm basically living like in Manchester currently. Like I love music. I support Man United, unfortunately. And then in terms of like kind of business and kind of creativity, that's always been a massive passion of mine. And I started Spring Creative, which is a marketing agency. And I started that about 2.5 years ago now. So in terms of the first phase, which I've just called phase one right now, I'd basically graduated university in 2018. I'd studied digital media and communications. I'd done like a wide range of different skills here from like kind of video. I'd done documentaries, I'd done coding, I'd done graphic design. Yeah, I just done everything to be honest, which was very, like I guess it gave me like a very generalist skill set. But I wasn't really sure is like kind of which path to go down next. There was lots of kind of possible routes of basically specializing and then being a generalist. So I just basically just spoke to lots of people and I got in contact with a business owner who ran like a software company. And I basically landed like an internship there. And then that had turned into like a full-time role. So in this software company, I was basically like, I was just a marketing executive. Um, and it was a pretty small team. And I was just doing loads of different things, being a jack of all trades. I was working on kind of project management, on strategy, on social media, on advertising, on video, on making people coffees, just like everything. Um, but I realized I basically I was doing lots of things, but I realized I wanted to actually specialize on a certain skill. Um, and I wanted to find one that like kind of complemented my own strengths and my own personality. And I always like enjoyed writing and like communication and then like analysis and basically measuring some kind of impact. So I wanted to find a skill that would basically combine both those things. In terms of kind of challenges of of this specific phase in my life, I would say imposter syndrome was probably the biggest one. I'd say this feeling of just feeling like inferior in a business setting, I think came from like a lack of experience and a lack of knowledge. I was working with people who basically had 30 years experience in business and I had literally had like a couple months. But I think the kind of solution that I'd found to this was just knowing that like even if you know 1% more on a certain subject than somebody, then that's a really valuable thing. And also knowing that as being young, that's an advantage as well. Or like as being fresh in an industry, it's an advantage because it gives you like a fresh perspective on things. And especially being young because I think different generations consume media now in different ways, especially TikTok and things like that. And I think coming to that kind of realization really gave me like helped me to find a voice in the industry. So yeah, if I was to kind of summarize this phase of my career, I would call this the like kind of discovery phase, which is exploring different paths and skills in the early stage of a career. So there's lots of kind of trial and error of learning and of self-discovery. So at this stage, I had about 7 months experience. I had lots of different skills and I had a direction which I wanted to kind of head in, which was more like kind of specializing into a certain skill. So this takes us onto phase two, which was I wanted to find a skill that was suited to my strengths. So like I've always been interested in kind of storytelling and like communication, whether that is through films, through kind of TV, through video games, books, anything like that. And I've always enjoyed data analysis as well and actually measuring the impact of things. So I've done some research, and then I found paid advertising as a skill, which had like combined those things. And I felt like those were kind of suited to my strengths and my personality as well. So I landed a kind of a digital marketing agency role in 2019. This was a small agency in Bolton called Tal Digital. It was an SEO company, but they had wanted to build like a paid advertising department, so like in Google ads and Facebook ads, things like that. And I was brought in as a junior to basically build that like kind of side of the business. So in terms of my responsibilities, it was basically managing marketing budgets for our clients. We were working with lots of really big clients in the UK. And yeah, so like I was kind of thrown like um um in the deep end straight away, and was managing like up to budgets of like kind of £10,000 a month. And I actually really loved it because I could see the impact I was having on people's businesses in terms of the sales figures. And it was also good to be like kind of held accountable as well, in terms of if something is working for someone or if it's not. And yeah, as a skill, it just really complemented my own kind of personality strengths. Um, so what I'd also tried to do in this phase of my career was just kind of build my own network. So I went to lots of networking events. I went to like industry events. I listened to speakers. I went to co-working spaces, cafes, and just tried to focus on just expanding my own network and just connecting with lots of people. And then I also did this on LinkedIn, and then just started to build a personal brand and then gain some followers and stuff like that, and found this was really good just for like establishing a voice in the industry. In terms of like kind of challenges in this phase, I think the biggest one was there was a skill gap between what was expected of me in the role and then my actual skills and experience at the time. So what I did in terms of kind of bridging the gap was that I focused on just lots of self-education. So kind of watching loads of YouTube videos. I would read lots of books. I'd do video courses. I'd listen to podcasts. I'd just Google loads of stuff as well. And then obviously now there's like kind of TikTok to do that as well, which is a really good kind of educational tool now. And then also as a way of acquiring skills outside of work, I'd work on lots of side projects. So these were like a couple that I'd basically started working on. So one of them was like an e-commerce brand called Custom Hero Prints, and it never took off. But yeah, and then as we built like a content website as well that was focused around drones, and then we had basically sold that last year. And then I also made like an Upwork profile, and just started doing like in little jobs, just like advertising jobs for people and just trying to build skills that way as well. So I would say this phase of my career I'd call like is the mastery phase, which is where like as you focusing in on a certain skill, I guess building like I guess your expertise and gaining practical experience in a certain like in a specialty. Um, and then going into phase three, obviously COVID happened and it basically shook the world. But what as this did in terms of like kind of digital transformation in businesses was that I think it actually forced lots of businesses to invest in digital marketing and the online side of their businesses. And I realized there was a demand for digital skills, and it was going to like increase, and there was a shortage in terms of the actual supply as well. And in my current agency, I felt like on the paid advertising side, there was a bit of like it wasn't really like a big focus. So I launched Spring Creative in 2021, and I decided to basically to like kind of build the business just around one skill of paid advertising. I'd done that because I had loads of experience in it, and I also thought from like a marketing perspective and a sales perspective and an operations perspective that this would be the like easiest way of basically going about things at first. Um, I think also building it on kind of paid advertising was a good move because it's a skill which lends itself to monthly retainers, and that was really good for like cash flow. Um, so yeah, I'd instead of like hiring people full time and like having offices, I'd kind of hopped on board of the trend of kind of remote working and had instead leveraged a network of freelancers and contractors and then kind of brought them on a project basis instead of like hiring full-time staff. And that has worked really well, like as a way of basically growing the business and like getting results for people. Um, but yeah, I think that it's important to know is when to specialize and when to generalize. I think in my first role, I basically become like a generalist. In my second role, I definitely specialized, and then starting a business, I became a generalist again, and like had loads of different skills to learn. Um, in terms of the challenges, I would say kind of knowing which skills to stack on top of each other. I think this is easier if you have a direction which you want to go in. Um, and I think as well that it's important just to, if you find a direction, is to basically start to like kind of build skills straight away and like gain some momentum. That's a very powerful force. And yeah, it's something which can basically compound over time. And if you wait around too long, then like other people are like going to overtake you basically. So we are still working on different side projects, which we now like have as internal clients in the agency. So we've one that is a music page on Instagram that is called Sound Vibrations, which has really taken off recently. And then also Bits for Pets, which is an e-commerce pet brand. And yeah, I'd say side projects are really good in terms of just building skills, to be honest. And these are skills which we can then like kind of like almost transfer then then like onto our clients as well. And also decreasing the risk of losing clients by like kind of building our own. So yeah, I would call this phase the like kind of monetization phase, which is where as you basically leveraging skills in order to like kind of create or as to grow a business, or it could just be to um, advance in um like advance in your career, like in a certain role or like in a profession. So as to recap, there is the discovery phase, which is where as you're building some kind of understanding in your skill set, in yourself, and in your industry. Then it's the mastery phase, which is actually building skills and expertise. And then monetization, which is actually building some kind of leverage using those skills. So in terms of takeaway lessons, I would say it's really important just to understand yourself and your own strengths. Have some kind of plan for like kind of gaining skills and acquiring them, or a direction. I think also deciding which points in your career as you want to generalize and then also specialize. I would say side projects are a great thing. I'd say um, I'd say build your own personal brand and invest in self-education. And yeah, as one skill can basically can of shape your career. So choose wisely and enjoy the process. And yeah, that's the end. Thanks for listening.